Hi everyone. I think we're gonna be ready to move on here. I got the trophy for sleeping. Here's that footage. Absolutely riveting. Today I want to talk about self-awareness. Um, Self-awareness is a funny thing. You can be pretty self-aware, I think, and know things about yourself, but still struggle greatly to change, uh, despite the glaring contradictions that may exist. So, for example, I'm generally a pretty negative person. Um, I wasn't always like that. Uh, when I was a lot younger, I was very happy in general and more positive. I think it's probably the case that most people aren't born with an inherently negative mindset. Um, I think that's the sort of thing that has to get trained uh, over the course of many years, particularly the younger years. I went through a pretty strict training regimen with my peers. They did a very good job of that um, when I was a kid. It'd be pretty easy for someone to say like, it was like a long time ago and I need to get over it, but that's kind of the thing is like I I really don't remember a lot of it. There's like maybe a couple specific things that happened that I can remember that were, particularly bad, but I don't really remember most uh of what happened. I only really remember how it made me feel. Um and feeling that way almost every day for years and years and years and years, uh especially that young, it kind of it changes you. um as I said, I wasn't always like this, so like negative about things. Basically, there ended up being a pretty big cognitive dissonance between how I perceived myself and how others perceived me. And that dissonance pretty much wasn't there anymore by the time I finished, I'd say, middle school. Someone once explained it to me that my psychologist I was seeing, or someone, I think it was him, um, the brain really hates cognitive dissonance. This is how he explained it to me, and will basically alter itself to conform to whatever contradictory information it's being presented with. It's easy to write off, your experiences in childhood as like, I think a lot of people write it off rather as like inconsequential, or you know something that just happened and doesn't affect them. But I think those are formative years, and I think what happens to people in their childhood is very important. And some things are not as drastic, or as bad as like other things, but they still happen and they still have an effect. Just getting a thumbnail, sorry. I think my experiences in school permanently changed my like baseline temperament, um and expectations of the world around me that I carried with me, later on in my into like my adolescence, and eventually young adult. And because of this, it informed the decisions that I made, and it has this sort of cascading effect, um where the negative experiences I had in my childhood informed the way that I think. To think negatively, then I'm going to make decisions based off of that, and it shapes how your life turns out. um I think to a larger degree than a lot of people maybe give it credit for. But yeah, I think that's just how I ended up. I'm just overall pretty negative, and I can remember, because I definitely didn't start out this way. uh it's just that's the experiences I had, that your personality gets shaped um from those early experiences, which is probably why also I'm so like boring and depressing. I'm also extremely uncomfortable with compliments and praise, or like when people express gratitude to me. That sort of stuff always feels unearned. It conflicts with a lot of the dissonance that my early brain worked hard to get rid of. When you tell people this, like when you tell like friends, they do what any friend would do, which is to completely disregard it, and give compliments and praise anyway. And I don't say that with any kind of like bitterness or vitriol or anything like that. It's coming from a good place, but yeah, I guess I just don't really feel like I'm worth the like time or effort. when I reach out to my friends, I often feel like I have to like push through like a nagging anxiety um from the idea, the notion that I'm like less than they are, and I'm more of just like a nuisance than anything. Um, I still, you know, reach out, but there's always that initial like, you know, oh, I'm probably bothering them kind of thing. And sometimes I do like put it off. And even though I'm like aware of all this about myself, changing my way of thinking is really hard. It's incredibly hard. Even with like all the evidence contrary to the perceptions that I have. You know, my friends, you know, they continue to talk to me. They invite me to things, and they ask me to spend time with them. Um, there's a twisted kind of comfort in maintaining a negative outlook, um, feeling as though I'll either be right or I'll be pleasantly surprised by something good happening for once. It takes a lot of the punch out when something that like would actually, you know, elicit like negative emotions, negative feeling, whatever, when it actually happens, you know, I already expected it, so it, you know, it's fine. I remember one time I was going on a trip by myself to visit a friend who lived pretty far from me. It was basically an all-day drive, just there, just one way. And my car just died on the highway. I was able to, well, first I lost the power steering. Long story short, it ended up needing like a lot of repairs. She had to come and get me. I had only made it about like halfway to where she was. And I remember feeling just like nothing the entire. This was not a great car. It was very unreliable. So, you know, I already had very low expectations of it. But I just remember feeling nothing. I remember getting the bill. I think it was like $800 or $900. And I just feeling completely empty. I had no emotional reaction to it whatsoever. I think maybe this is kind of what I was talking about when I said I, you know, enjoy sad stories. Kind because I can experience emotional pain safely, you know, with there's no actual risk to myself. I wonder what that means, that I enjoy feeling that sort of stuff. Or that I, like, seek it out, almost. Or maybe it means nothing. I don't know. Something I'd have to think about. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. If you guys have, like, a similar thoughts, or, you know, maybe completely different opinion on this. I'm interested in, you know, what you guys have to say. Um, so, yeah. If you, watch the whole video, thank you. And, there'll be more soon. See ya.